I know seeing old Cowboy Stadium behind me probably drums up a lot of memories for Cowboy fans. Those great teams, Super Bowl winning teams, and Hall of Fame players who played on that field. Hadn't been that way for this franchise over the last few years. I mean, what do you make of this franchise? Seems like they're chronic underachievers, or maybe I just overrate their talent. But every year, seems like they should be better than they are, and they show flashes, particularly on offense. I mean, this team, when they get it rolling on offense, they can look as good as any offense in the league. And as recently as week 1 against the Giants in the second half of that game, this team looked great. They looked really good on offense. Looked like that defense, particularly in the secondary, which was their Achilles heel last year, was stopping the pass. That defense looked improved with the additions in the offseason of cornerback Brandon Carr in free agency and Morris Claiborne in the draft. I mean, those guys looked like they had an instant impact. And so after that week 1 victory over the Giants, a lot of people, myself included, thought maybe this was the year that Dallas might win the NFC East, might make some noise, might live up to their potential, at least their perceived potential. But then they go out and do something like get blown out on the road by a Seattle Seahawks team starting a rookie quarterback coming off a loss to the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, Seattle's not a great team. For Dallas to be non-competitive in that game, it's just a head-scratcher unless you know the Cowboys' history. This is exactly the way they've been over the last few years. You never know which team you're going to get. This team could lose to any team in the league. They could beat any team in the league. So, with that being said, what do you make of this game this week? They host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Dallas installed as a 7.5-point favorite right now on BETDAQ. Total's not out yet on BETDAQ, 46.5 the total out in Vegas. Tampa's been a team that has surprised nearly everybody this year, beat Carolina in week 1, should have beaten the Giants last week. Giants came back. Tampa had a 2-score lead in the fourth quarter, or late in the third quarter of that game. Giants came back and won that game. So Tampa's been a surprise team. Dallas looked terrible last week, but that Tampa secondary gave up 510 yards passing to Eli Manning last week. That's the 8th most passing yards in NFL history. So a historically bad performance by the Tampa secondary. And we know what this Dallas offense can do. We've seen it. If Tony Romo gets into a rhythm, he's as good as any quarterback in the league. So don't feel comfortable back in Tampa here. They could get blown out. Also, Dallas could lose this game outright. I think the Tampa on the money line. I'm not sure exactly what it is on BETDAQ, but I'm sure it's fairly generous, being that Dallas is a 7.5-point favorite on this game. Tampa money line might not be bad for sort of a long shot. Obviously, I would bet on Dallas winning the game, if you held my feet to the fire, but certainly not feeling these 7.5 points here. Total in this game, again, in Vegas is at 46.5, not yet released on BETDAQ. Do lean towards the under there. Tampa is limited offensively, so I'm not sure they're going to quite get to 46.5 unless this is a big win, unless that Dallas offense, gets it going and blows Tampa out. But even though the Tampa defense was awful last week, let me remind you that in week 1 they were pretty good. They shut down, or at least severely limited, Cam Newton and that Carolina Panthers offense that looked pretty good themselves last week against the New Orleans Saints. So this feels like one of those weird early season games to me where it's just best to sort of sit back and observe and see what these two teams are going to do.